Welcome back, everybody, for another deep dive. And, today we're going to be tackling something that I think is really important, AI and warfare. And you've given us some seriously thought-provoking material to work with for this deep
Yeah.
dive. So I'm really excited to get into it. We've got stuff about autonomous weapons and, the kind of the global debates that are happening right now, and even some really interesting stuff from veterans who have seen the reality of, combat firsthand.
Right.
So
Yeah, and I think what's really striking about this is that it isn't some far off, science fiction scenario this is happening right now. AI is actively shaping battles as we speak.
absolutely. And our sources kind of paint this really vivid picture of what's happening in Ukraine right now with both sides using these AI-powered drones
Hmm.
and these things can identify and engage targets, so they're making life or death decisions without direct human input. I mean,
Yeah.
what are the implications of that?
It's a huge shift. I mean, we're talking algorithms driving decisions in milliseconds.
Yeah.
I mean, faster than any human could react.
Yeah.
And it really raises that question of responsibility. I mean, if an AI-powered drone, you know, malfunctions or makes a mistake, harms civilians, who's to blame? Is it the programmer, the commanding officer, or the algorithm itself?
Right. And that's a chilling thought. And our sources don't shy away from that. Like one engineer even compared these autonomous weapons to a Roomba, but for killing.
Right.
And that's an image that really sticks with you.
It does. And this is fueling an entirely new kind of arms race.
Yeah.
I mean, China has already tested a swarm of 1,000 AI-powered drones.
Yeah.
Can you imagine that 1,000 autonomous weapons operating in unison?
Wow.
And the U.S. is hot on their heels with something called Project Replicator,
Yeah.
focused on developing its own autonomous systems.
Right.
This new Cold War might not be about nukes, but about algorithms. What happens when nations are competing to develop the most advanced and most lethal AI?
That is a chilling thought. And it's against this backdrop that the UN has been trying to ban lethal autonomous weapons. They even held these emergency talks in 2024. But our sources reveal that the major powers boycotted the vote. So what do you make of that?
Well, I think it's the clear indication of what's at stake here. Whoever controls AI in warfare could very well control the 21st century, and no nation wants to be left behind in this race for technological dominance,
Yeah.
even if it means setting aside ethical concerns for now.
So are we headed toward a future where algorithms are calling the shots on the battlefield? I mean, some experts in our sources argue that these bans are naive,
Hmm.
that countries like China simply won't comply, and others fear something called flesh wars, where these AI systems are reacting to each other so fast that humans lose control entirely, potentially sparking global conflict.
Yeah, it's a very real concern. I mean, the speed at which AI operates can outpace human comprehension, let alone our ability to intervene.
Right.
So imagine a situation where AI systems misinterpret data or make decisions based on incomplete information. The consequences could be catastrophic.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and it really makes you think about that whole idea of, meaningful human control that we see in some of these sources.
Mhm.
What does that even look like in a world where AI is making these split-second decisions?
Right, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And it's not simply about having a human operator there to push a button, right? It's about making sure that humans retain the ability to understand the nuances of a situation that an algorithm might miss.
Right, and that's where I think the human cost of war really comes into focus.
Yeah.
Our sources, they include perspectives from veterans like retired Marine Colonel Jake Williams, who lost men under his command.
Yeah.
And he really offers this powerful reminder that war isn't a video game.
Yeah.
This is about real lives, real sacrifices.
His words are so powerful. He says a machine can't grasp sacrifice. It can't hesitate to save a civilian. And it really gets to the heart of this ethical dilemma with AI and warfare. Can we really entrust machines with these life or death decisions when they lack that capacity for empathy?
Right. I mean, can a machine truly understand the weight of human life?
Exactly. And these aren't just hypothetical dilemmas, right?
Yeah.
This is the reality of war.
Absolutely. And Colonel Williams isn't alone. We're seeing a growing movement of veterans advocating for this meaningful human control over AI weapons. And they've seen the horrors of war firsthand. They understand the stakes in a way that those of us who haven't experienced combat just can't.
Their voices are so crucial to this whole debate because they're not just theorizing about the ethics of AI, they've lived with the consequences of decisions made on the battlefield.
Right.
And their accounts remind us that war isn't about, Algorithms and data points. It's about human lives and human suffering
Yeah.
and the very real possibility of unintended consequences.
It's a really powerful message, and it brings us back to that fundamental question. Can we harness the power of AI in warfare without losing our humanity?
It's a question we all need to grapple with. And it's not just about military strategy or
Mhm.
technological advancement, right? It's about our values, our ethics, and the kind of world we want to create.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's a balancing act for sure, and one that's only going to get tougher as this AI technology keeps evolving. I mean, you've given us a lot to consider today.
Yeah.
We've seen how AI is already being used on battlefields like Ukraine and all those really difficult questions it brings up about, accountability and the chance of things going wrong that nobody intended.
Right. And we've talked about those international efforts, trying to regulate or even ban autonomous weapons,
Hmm.
but also how hard it is to get everyone on the same page when the stakes are so high. I mean, the reality is, whoever's leading in AI, they might just end up calling the shots for the whole 21st
It's
century.
almost like we're standing on the edge of a whole new era of warfare, right? Where the lines between what humans control and what machines do on their own is
Mm.
getting blurrier all the time.
Exactly. And as we go forward, I think the voices of people who've actually been there, like the veterans we talked about, they become even more important. They really remind us that even with all this crazy technology, the human cost of war can't be forgotten.
Their perspectives are so valuable. They make it real for us. War isn't some abstract game of strategy. It's about real lives and real sacrifices. And the decisions we make right now about AI, they're going to have a huge impact on how wars are fought in the future and on humanity as a whole.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, this isn't just about picking sides in some tech debate. This is about figuring out what we stand for, our ethics, and the kind of world we want to leave for our kids and grandkids.
So, as we wrap up this deep dive into AI and warfare, I think the biggest takeaway for everyone listening is this isn't some far off threat. This
Hmm.
is happening now. And the choices we make, even the conversations we have, they all matter.
I totally agree. The future of warfare is being shaped right now, and it's up to all of us to be part of these conversations, to weigh the good and the bad of AI, and ultimately to decide what role we want this powerful technology to play.
This deep dive has been a real eye opener. It's given us all a lot to think about and a lot to talk about, maybe even a little to worry about. But at the end of the day, it's knowledge, right? And knowledge is power. It helps us make smart choices about the future. Thanks for joining us on this journey into the world of AI and warfare. Until next time, keep asking those tough questions, keep learning, and keep the conversation going.